Drea Humphrey here, standing in front of the Vancouver City Hall to bring you an interview with one of the people behind the 1 million March for Children that's scheduled to take place this Wednesday across the nation.
We're going to be there. We understand your tactics. We understand what you're trying to feed your community, how you're trying to use, manipulate, and hijack the emotions of your community to apply your radical, extreme agenda.
We are seeing a set of protests that are all being done simultaneously. They're all being set for 9 a.m. in each of their time zones in every single province of this country, in multiple cities of these provinces. And it is really scary. It is extremely similar as to what has been happening in the U.S. And we are very, very worried about what could be coming next.
Again, I'm Drea Humphrey, and Vancouver is one of 92 cities expected to have participants across the nation in the 1 million March for Children, a peaceful protest and school walkout being organized by parents mostly and other Canadians to protest against the sexual indoctrination of children happening in schools. If you're unaware of what that is, you should go to our special website called StopClassroomGrooming.com and share it with others. There, we have been bringing you the other side of the story to what the state may want you to know is happening in schools thanks to your tax dollars. For example, books like this, sexually explicit ones, hide your kids if they're in the room, but you should know they're most likely in your child's library. They've been approved, for example, in BC by our radical sexual orientation curriculum called SOGI 123. It's things like that that have united parents and citizens alike to gather, thanks to groups like Hands Off Our Kids, a Muslim-led organization that says enough is enough, leave our kids alone. Now, despite the invites for all of these protests, calling for peaceful activism and welcoming all who share their concerns, no matter their faith or background. If you recently saw this viral video that was leaked by a nonprofit called Culture Guard, you'd be hearing something else.
This is absolutely crucial that we oppose this in the streets. And this is just signs that I've seen that we're rising, that this is far more than just like a far-right transphobic protest. They are fundamentally racist. They're fundamentally anti-union. They are fundamentally queer and transphobic. And it's just a matter of time before they come to us.
Now being under the guise of being led by parents, it's being by the guise of being led by religious faith and some sort of ethnic communities. And we need to be supported, and we're all getting together and being disrupting and causing some good trouble.
We are wanting to show a very strong response, countering these protests, to show that, they even think that there's a possibility of bringing what's happening other places here.
I know I've got 3 kids myself who are currently in the K-12 system who identify as trans, and I to steal a couple of their tactics in that when they are gathering for their tailgate party in the mall parking lot, we've got a couple of seasoned activists who've already said that they're willing to go over and take some pictures of license plates and these are people who are willing to do this. They're people who are seasoned and make sure that they know that they're being watched, that they're not doing this in secret, that people are noticing what they're up to.
If we stand up to the bully will decide what to do. They will fight, fright, or flight, fight, or fright. And so let's give them some fright on September 20th, so that on September 21st till whenever, that they're working on the flight tactic.
Now, that was just some of the insanely divisive rhetoric that was being said by union representatives in Ontario. But it hasn't stopped there. For example, the BC Teachers Federation is joining in on planning a counterattack in the form of a counter protest, seeking to join the idea of intimidating parents who are upset about what I told you earlier. You're about to see an interview with Mazen Sukhari. He's an author of a book called A Manifesto of an Arab Mind, The Last World Order, and he's also been working as a strategist behind the nationwide 1 million March for Children. He's going to talk about some of the fears that have been swirling thanks to these woke unions that have come together to condemn the protests and all of the parents in it. And he's also going to talk about why you shouldn't fall for such rhetoric. And joining us now is Mazen with Hands Off Our Kids. And you're actually based in BC.
I am, yes.
Thanks for being on Rebel News.
Thank you very much, Rebel News. We love you. You've been the voice of the people, really.
Well, it certainly has been a lot of my journalism to cover the other side of the story on what's inside of schools that parents are going to be standing up against in Wednesday. But I wanted to meet with you today, which I guess will be the day before the march for those watching, just to talk about some of the nonsense that has come out, the backlash you guys are seeing, especially after unions have organized to mobilize against you. What are your initial thoughts when you saw that video circulating?
Well, actually, my first thought was I'm glad they're exposed. Because in reality, this is not about the LGBTQ plus community. We are all communities. And within every single community, we have all types of people. And those people are the radicals, the extremists, all the way to the terrorists. They are trying to terrorize by applying fear factors, and fear is a liar. And those who spread it are just liars. That's what they're all about. So there's nothing to fear. We're going to be there. We understand your tactics. We understand what you're trying to feed your community, how you're trying to use, manipulate, and hijack the emotions of your community to apply your radical, extreme agenda. Some of the examples, they use persons and not parents. They use allies and not family. This is an agenda. We need to expose this hate because they are masking behind their bitterness, their hateness, their hate for hatred, and we're exposing them. The community, the LGBTQ plus community, is not all about hate, but they're feeding them, telling them, hate protest. Why? A mother who loves her kid, a mother whose heart saw her kid before her eyes did, hates. She's there for love. A father who would give his life to protect, clothe, be there, put his daughter on his shoulders in playgrounds, in matches, is all about hate. So what they're feeding their own society is to brainwash their own society. So if they are trying to brainwash their own society, what are they trying to do with the rest of the population? What are they trying to do with kids? I have to say this, I am from the Muslim community. And as a Muslim, I come from the Middle East, Lebanon specifically. I can smell an imposter, an oppressor a mile away. It's in our DNA. And these are classic textbook oppressor behavior. They accuse, they hide behind words that are virtuous, but they are all about lying. For us, it could be ISIS. For us, it could be some radical Islamist group. They try to brainwash us too. They try to lift flags above our country flags. They did that too. And all of a sudden, they start creating movements that feel that flag and that community is more important than the country itself. and chaos happens. So what I'm trying to say here is this protest is really about Canada. Our kids are the future of Canada. And we need to make sure, especially us as immigrants, especially us who came from oppressive regimes, who've been there and know what it's like and know what it leads to, and know how each community will start wanting to protect itself, wanting to protect their own. And all of a sudden, we have several communities, and all of a sudden, they're all up against one another. And this is not why we came to Canada for. We came to teach our kids what Canada really teaches. Unity, one family. The minute somebody tells you, ally, are we in NATO? Is this a NATO regime? I don't get it.
Or comrades.
Or comrade, I don't get it. Well, where's this coming from? Why are they feeding you this when they told you love? So I just want to say, if you ask me, what is this protest about?
I was going to ask, but he's good.
I would say love. Love for kids. Love for family. A love that a mom gives. A love that a dad gives. And love for country. We came here to make this our country. We made it. I don't know, one of our colleagues in this movement, Kamel, was flying from Lebanon. A Lebanese. It was his first time in Lebanon. You know what he was telling me? I can't wait to be home. This is home. We know how we want home to be. And since we come from those societies, we're actually giving you an advice. We're telling you, do not fall into what our own nations fell into.
What message do you have to people, I'm seeing it on social media, that are actually frightened from the union members coming together and calling for a counterattack of sorts? Some are actually scared to attend. What's your advice on that?
Well, I sincerely say, there's nothing to be scared of. I sincerely say, these are scare tactics. What do you think they're going to do? And I have to add, and maybe this is not the time to say something like that, but to all of you, we as organizers, we're expecting thousands over thousands of people. This is not going to be 5 people standing together. We are expecting thousands. We have numbers. So really, what's going to happen? We're going to be there. We're going to protect the moms and the kids. And I am sure every and any decent Canadian will want to protect a mom, will want to protect a child. So I say to you again, do not be afraid. Fear is a liar. They're just playing a tactic on you. And we're there. We're one. We're joining hands. And I think you've heard of the expression, a one-man army or a one-woman army. Mm-hmm. Every single one in this protest is a one-man army. Imagine all of these together, joining hands in a peaceful assembly to express their love to those they gave birth to the LGBTQ community. I reiterate, watch what they're trying to teach you. Allies, you were born from moms and dads. They're trying to tell you, no, allies of our community, not family, not aunts, not uncles, allies, persons. They're trying to brainwash you before they brainwash the entire society. Because you have a lot of sentiment and emotion inside you, they're hijacking and building on that emotion. The rest of society did not fall into it. And I hope you do not fall into it. And you join hands with your fellow Canadian to say, no, leave kids alone.
Well, there you have it, Mazan, with Hands Off Our Kids. Thanks for being on Rebel News. You'll be going to Toronto to join the march. I will, of course, be here in BC bringing you coverage. Rebel News is deploying journalists across the country. You can find what happens at stopclassroomgrooming.com. Like I said, there's going to be no other news outlet covering what really goes down at these protests like Rebel News, but we can't do it safely without you. We've already had to contract security workers to keep many of our journalists safe as they've deployed to bring you the other side of this important story. And we can't do it without you, like I said. So if you want to chip in a few bucks to help keep our reporters safe, you can go to journalistdefensefund.com and help us recoup some of those costs. I'm Drea Humphrey, and we appreciate your support.